Hey, we're Mark and Katie talking today about buying businesses.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty busy couple weeks. I think we took last week off, but lots gone on, I think, since then.
Yeah, it's been a slow time on the search side, but busy on active deals.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like active deals are always busy. So I think this week, we had one deal get saved from, I think last time we did a live, I said there was no chance we were going to save it, and it's saved.
Want to talk a little bit about that one?
So I think that one was a type of dealership, and we just found a new supplier. I mean, effectively what we did is we went and we modified the deal price so that it includes a forgivable note structure, so that if the transition to new distributor is unsuccessful, then the notes would be forgiven, because obviously there's a lot of risk in that. So it de-risks the transition little bit. So basically, if everything goes smooth, the sellers get the full price. If things are if we have issues or hiccups in the transition, then it's kind of a 20% drop in the price. So we did that. We set up some new agreements, and I think that'll be on pace to hopefully close next month.
Seller seems on board with that.
Yeah, super excited. It's a great fit for him. It's like the best next step for
the buyer.
Yeah.
That's really exciting to get that one through. What are we looking at? September, you think, for that?
Yeah, I think September.
We had a deal close this week, maybe within the last week. Another one we've been kind of plugging away at. It was perfect fit, somebody with direct industry experience, which we always love to see.
Yeah, that was a really good one. So it's a water well drilling company. So it's a great, dirty job thing you have to have, not you want to have. There's a lot of maintenance and upkeep that goes to having wells. We got a great deal on it just because it's an owner-operated business, and you needed a very specific person to buy it. And our partner was that very specific person. So, I think it's a business that's doing about $1 million a year in net cash flow profit. And, I think we paid $2.5 million for it. So, a really good valuation for, a company that's kicking off that much cash flow. And I think we have some opportunities there. I think we have a great partner there. He has a lot of contacts in the drilling industry, even some contacts in there's some new lithium mines that are going to be built, I guess, mined. They're not built.
Mines to be mined.
Mines to be mined in the North Texas area. I think it's one of the largest lithium deposits in the world. And of course, as we move to electric vehicles, we're going to need more and more of that. So some of the process for mining there is similar to the process used in the water well. So I think we might even get to do a little work on that as well. And then I think that also helps another business that we closed on, I think the week before. I think they were about a week apart.
In Texas, that delivers water and moves the campsites for oil and gas drilling companies. So the lithium, it's going to need some of the same services. So we can kind of use, it's always good when we can have the companies work together. I know in Florida, we wanted to have one of our construction companies. We've got a restaurant closing with some extra land. We wanted to have one of our construction companies do the build out. Yeah.
So it's always cool when we start to see the companies interact with each other.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we have a FedEx line haul business too. We were looking at a large truck repair business there at one point. And we thought, oh, this could be perfect sync up here. What I really liked, going back to that well drilling, that was an investor deal that we did. So it was somebody with direct industry experience, not a lot of capital, or at least not the capital really typically needed to do a 10% down deal, but connected with us. We were able to find some investors to get it done. It was great. We had a lot of investors really excited about that one.
Yeah, it was, luckily we didn't need to put a lot down, but yeah, he came with a great resume.
Yeah, he was easy to believe in.
Yeah. I mean, I remember we first met him and saw the deal. It's just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, we went in on this one.
Yeah, we were super excited. We're always excited, but just like that was just the perfect fit.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, he found that one himself. Usually our partners work with us to find a business, but he had one ready to go. And I think that's the only one we looked at for him.
It is. Yeah.
That's really rare.
It's the only time that's ever happened.
Yeah. And then we just recently had a loan deal close. It wasn't in our partner program, but it was just somebody that we helped find an SBA loan. 0% down on that one, which is so exciting to get those done. I know lenders love those. We get excited about those. Obviously, the buyers love those. yeah, that was a really cool opportunity too.
Yeah, that's always great. The 0% down. They got about $400,000 of working capital as a part of the deal. So, they're going to get money to help grow the business. The person was the COO/CFO of the company and has been for a decade. So
knows the business so well.
Knows the owner ran it absentee. So like he knew the business better than the seller did. So the bank obviously loves that. The deal was super smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great deals.
Best buyer, best possible buyer for that deal.
Yeah, the best buyer. I actually met with someone today that is going to likely sell their company to an employee. So we're just waiting on. We need the 2024 tax returns to do that, but that'll be another chance to do the zero down.
Interesting. I don't know
zero
about
down
that
loans.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love to see another one like that. It's been a busy time with deals. We just got a commitment letter with a lender today for a business that deal's been a breeze.
It's really
I hate to say, knock on wood, but it's, again, the buyer's great for it. He is really strong sales background. He's buying what's essentially a sales organization.
Really good seller.
Nice guy.
It's just so weird. Like all these areas where usually deals like potentially, we always say every deal dies 6 to 8 times. And every time we hit to one of these points, things just breeze through and it doesn't make any sense.
This one did
I'm so afraid we're going to.
This one did die once. And I think we've forgotten. The broker ghosted us on this deal for it was like 3 months, I want to say. We just thought we would never hear a thing on it.
It was almost never born then.
It was, yeah, the birth didn't take place. We reached out initially. We talked to the broker's assistant and I'd gotten a few emails saying, hey, are you still interested? And every time I was like, yes, we want to take the next step. And I would hear nothing. And then another month would pass. Are you interested in this? Yes. Can we talk to the seller? Can we see more? Can we do the next step? And I don't know. Finally, one of the emails must have clicked because we got through, which maybe worked to our advantage. Maybe nobody else was getting through either. And they're just like, why is no one interested in this business? And who knows? Some email issue on their end kind of worked to our favor, maybe.
Yeah, because it was even weird. We got the red lines back for the purchase agreement from the attorney. And usually there's just, you have a fight, one, just because the seller's attorney, it seems like they just want to rack up the billable hours.
Yeah.
And so like all these things about indemnity. So like that's if it's a stock sale. So it's like how much liability is the seller going to keep? Mm-hmm. So like they're indemnifying the buyer of those past liabilities. And we always end up arguing with those caps. And I always go into it, it's like, well, like your liabilities are your liabilities. Our liabilities are our liabilities.
Right. Seems pretty cut and dry.
And then that it turns into a big fight. And it goes back and forth for a while. And they just took the initial offers. Or the initial offer was fair. Like we gave them market terms. So like they should be accepted. But it was weird.
We have Tyler on.
Hi,
Tyler. Tyler says something sounds familiar in here. One of these deals might be not like the others. Yeah. But we've been really excited about that deal. How easy is it to get 2.5% down in a 7.5% seller note for an SBA loan?
So it depends. It's really going to depend on your experience and how good of a match you are for the business. The only problem is that there's only a couple banks that will do the 2.5%. Some of them are kind of tougher to get deals through. They're pretty picky about what they allow. We have another lender that is, we can usually get things done. I think every time we 2.5% deal with them, they say this is the last time we're going to do one.
Yeah.
They say we want 5%, and they're like, we'll do this one. So, but there's always going to be, there could obviously be this sometime where that bank says, they finally say, hey, we're not going to do it again.
Yeah.
But as long as it's a good match for you, your resume, your background, there's a pretty good chance at it. Like, I don't want to say it's like 100% or anything like that. It's probably, 60 to 80% chance.
Your background's really strong. Your chance is better. If your background's, not the perfect mix, it obviously goes the other direction a bit.
Yeah. If you have a decade of experience in that industry, it's closer to 90 some.
Yeah.
Percent, high 90s, but it's definitely doable. We typically ask for 10% in the seller note, just because I don't know, they let us. Some deals will do higher if there's like transition risk or something like that, so to like compensate. But our baseline is 10%. And that's 10% of the project cost. So that's the total deal. So that's not only the price, that's your working capital, your SBA guarantee fees, your legal fees. So really, it ends up being closer to like 12%.
Awesome. And I know, that's not just with us. I remember seeing the last Biz Buy Sell Insights report. I think that was Q2. They were saying so many buyers are asking for 10% now. So I think sellers are pretty well prepped to hear that number, 10% note.
And it's gotten a lot easier because so like when we first started, the seller notes count as equity. It used to have to be on standby for the entire life of the loan. So it's a 10-year loan. So had to be on a 10-year standby. Now those deals that was a lot harder to get sellers to accept seller notes.
Did you say 10-year standby?
It was 10-year standby.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Which usually what we did is because that's when you needed 5%. Is basically we'd say, hey, we're overpaying by 5%. Lenders, close your ears. Like we're going to give you a bonus at the end. Like you're getting this price, consider this a bonus if everything goes well, but the actual deal price is essentially what you're getting up front. And that's how we would get that accepted, is we'd phrase it as that bonus. But even then we had sellers that didn't want it.
Yeah.
One's just like, well, can I just like forgive it? Like, he's like, I don't want to have to think about this for 10 years. Right. And it's like, I don't think you really have to think about it. You just accept the money at the end. But I remember we had one that just didn't want it. And it was weird. But now that they only have to be on 24-month standby, getting what you would need if you need 7.5 in that, I mean, it shouldn't be too hard. I mean, it's never guaranteed. I mean, what we ran into a deal, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, where the seller just said they wouldn't do any seller financing at all. Yeah. And we're just kind of like, well, we won't do the deal without it.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone else is. I'm sure it's still out there.
Right. It's not even just about having the seller provide that financing, which is often a lower rate than the SBA rate. But it gives us some assurance that they're not trying to run away from a problem. We want to know that, they're not leaving us with a mess at the end of the day.
Yeah, they have some, I always hate this phrase, I don't know why, skin in the game, and making sure the transition goes smooth and that they're giving you a good, viable business and they're taking some risk.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say is the minimum capital that you should have when buying a business over $500,000?
So, I mean, you really just need that. So I guess what'll be the biggest factor there is just the what the working capital need is. So again, you're going to need between 2.5% and 5% of the total project cost. So I think one misconception is that you need to bring a lot of cash to operate the business after, which is true. You need a lot of cash, but you can get that through the working capital loan. So you could have a $500,000 business that needs $500,000 of working capital.
Yeah.
And typically banks will lend up to $500,000 of working capital. Need more than that, there's ways you can do it. So then really all you have to bring is that down payment. So you'll get that liquidity that you'll need after close to run the business through the loan. Of course, so then, if you do, in this extreme example of needing $500,000 of working capital, $500,000 to buy it, you're going to need 2.5 or 5% of the million instead of 500,000. But really all you need is that down payment. Maybe if you have to do it 2.5 to count for the average project cost, maybe assume 3, maybe have like 6.5 if you think that's what you're going to have to do, just to account for the increase in the total project.
Yeah. It's exciting. It's exciting to buy a business right now.
It is.
Everything's changing.
I know.
We think the cap might be raising on the SBA loans at some point here too. It's $5 million today across all the deals that you own. If you own multiple businesses, you have $5 million. But at some point, we might see that increase.
Yeah, I think we're really hoping for that. I think the lenders are really pushing for it. Banks are a very powerful lobbying group. So hopefully they can get that through. I think looking at the math, they haven't raised the limit in such a long time. It's been 5 million. That really just through inflation, that 5 million is really equal to like 3 million, what it was then.
Yeah.
So it really makes sense to raise it to 10 million and account for that inflation that's happened. And, I think that'll help a lot. I don't think that'll mean that you can go and do bigger deals because, the valuation is a function of the size. So the bigger deals, you get more private equity money that comes in, people that will pay higher prices. So really above 5 million, it's really hard to buy. It's not the $5 million limit that stops you from buying it. It's the numbers working that stop you from buying it. But I think it'll be really great because we do a lot of say $5 million deals and we want to be able to do additional bolt-on acquisitions to grow and you're at the cap. So I think it'll be good because then we can do more $5 million deals and then do, $1 million bolt-on acquisitions to it, or however we do it.
The limit. Yeah.
And I think that gets you up to like the 10. And if you really want to grow,
10 seems kind of like a stretch. I bet it'll be, what do you think, like 6 or 7 million will be the new loan limit?
I'd go with 10.
You think 10?
Yeah.
It's a big jump. Could be.
It is.
There's not
double
really
it,
rumblings.
but it would be weird to go to anything in between, I feel like.
Yeah. I go 7.5.
7.5 could be.
Yeah. We've been watching it for a while.
Yeah.
But no movement yet.
Right. I mean, I guess it's not Congress that does it, but write your SBA representatives.
Was it the big SOP came out? That was last August. It was about this time last year. It'd be interesting to see if we get a big change coming soon here.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because I think last August is when they did started allowing the zero down.
I think they started talking about it in May. So I guess we would have a lead in to, it wouldn't just happen. We would probably hear about it and then it would go into effect at a certain time.
Yeah.
And the lenders have to get ready for it too. They're big changes. Even though it just seems like a number's changing, that there's a lot that goes into it on the back end.
Yeah, most deals take so long to close though that I think like once it's announced, you could start basically acting as if it's in place. I remember we did that with the last rule changes. They weren't officially in place yet, but we were doing deals like they were and structuring deals like they were.
We can do a low down payment to the lenders.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah. By the time this closes, the new rules will be in place. Like we're gonna do this by the new rules, and that was especially because that was the standby notes was the biggest factor there. That we pretty much moved to the 2-year standbys like right away, right when it was announced.
Someone just asked if this is a fake room on a soundstage. No, it's a room in our house.
Yeah,
used to be a Lego room for our son, and it's been repurposed a lot of times.
Yeah,
just a regular room.
Got a green screen over there and lights everywhere.
This is real life.
This is our home.
Real life.
The set used to be in our bedroom where we'd sit every night and go recap, just like we're basically doing now.
Yeah.
Just the only difference is now that people are watching.
Yeah. We're married. Been married for a long time. 14, 15. I don't even know what year this is. Maybe we're probably about 14 years.
Probably.
Yeah.
2010. Yeah. We're coming up on 14 years in October.
Yeah. Work together. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Can I get an SBA loan to buy out my partner?
Yes. Yeah, you should be able to. You can do partner buyouts. I think the old rules didn't allow that. Given that, cash flow works and everything else aligns, that should be possible.
Yeah. How did we meet? We met at work.
We did.
We worked together another point in our lives.
Yeah.
JP Morgan funds.
Yep.
And then split our work paths and reconverged.
Yeah. I think, what do we have? Like 3 or 4 JP Morgan alum in our company?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think only one not.
Only one not, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big company.
It is a big company.
Everyone in finance has worked for JP Morgan at some point.
Yeah. We worked Mark and I worked in the same department though.
Yeah.
So we knew each other.
we had to hide it from our bosses that we were dating.
Wow, awkward. Anyway, you want to talk other deals that we're working on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saved a deal this week and we're going to kill a deal this week.
Let's talk about the kill. Kills are more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
do you think we'll really kill this deal?
Yeah, I don't think the numbers just aren't lining up. So, 2023, I really like to look at the monthly P&L to really get a really good read on exactly what's going on in the company. We turn that into like rolling 12-month revenue and rolling 12-month cash flow, but the monthlies aren't adding up to what like the annual numbers they gave us said they should be. So there's a lot of profit missing. I think that could just be an error in the way they gave us the monthlies. So like, if we wanted to save the deal, that's a problem we could fix. Actually, a deal 2 weeks ago, had that problem. And we figured out we got everything fixed and reconciled. But this year, it's just the business is just fallen off a cliff. It sounds like the seller's just disengaged from the business completely.
It's the worst time to do that.
And now, I mean, the business was making $1.6 million a year, and I think they're at a loss this year. And it should be a steady business. So we've got a call to kind of figure out what's going on, but even the explanation isn't going to change the fact that the numbers aren't there and then the loan's not going to work. So, I mean, unless they want to take a 70, 80% haircut in the price,
right,
it's just not going to happen. And it's going to not happen for, I guess, a good reason is that we don't want it. That's the situation.
No, we don't.
I want that one though. It was such a cool one.
It was a cool one. It was they did turns for rentals, basically.
Yeah.
Very light remodeling kind of fixes of rental homes and rental properties. Had a good buyer for that one too.
We have a lot of deals that basically it's monitoring that trailing 12 as the process goes, and that the seller tried to sell on a high and business is not tracking the way that we expected. And we essentially kill those deals in a way. I'd say we kill it, but also like the bank isn't going to do the loan. So like if we didn't kill it, the bank would. And then, we had the one deal where the seller backed out for no reason at the last day. But usually so far, everything else we've been able to find a resolution.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Got another deal closing probably this month. We've got partners. We've talked about them a few times. We own a few units of a specific franchise. They're buying. I mean, we looked at buying 4 more, but really we scaled that back and kind of cherry picked the best of the territories and just decided we'll buy 2, but we're probably going to close 1 right away and really focus on the other.
Yeah. So like technically we're getting essentially a 4-store territory of that franchise. And we're only going to keep 1 store. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it'll be really good because where our stores are placed, we're going to get all the revenue from all 4 stores. We're only going to have the costs of 1 of the stores, and then all the other revenue is just going to flow into our other locations. So, from a profitability standpoint, it should be really good. And I'd say that deal gives, we gave some equity to the person that was a general manager there. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting with franchises, and anyone that's worked in, any corporate environment, like being a franchisee is a lot like having a job in a big corporation. And he had such a good relationship with the CEO of the franchise. The seller had a very bad relationship with the CEO of the franchise, that they wanted that person out and they specifically wanted our person in. So, that helps a lot. Like the same kind of corporate ass kissing that works in, regular corporate America works as a franchisee, because then you can get the good, things when they come available. I mean, the FedEx routes are the same. I mean, it's like you got to make FedEx happy, keep FedEx happy. If you keep FedEx happy, they're going to feed you more routes and you don't have to go and buy those routes.
Which is really interesting. Yeah. Back to the franchise. I really like our ownership structure on that one. We were working with a person who wanted an absentee business. That's not typically a partner we seek out anymore that wants to be fully absentee. But in this case, we have an absentee person in a profession that he can't really give more time to other ventures. And then to partner with somebody who is in there day to day. It's just really worked out well.
I mean, he's a doctor, so he's out busy doctoring, and the other person's running the business.
Yeah. And I think they're both happy with those roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. We talked to another seller this week. That one was really interesting. We have a partner who, they're in a very specific niche. They bought a business that does durable medical equipment, and, really looking to expand. We found an opportunity that looked like it would be a good bolt-on for him. Speaking of bolt-on businesses, I don't know how that's going to go. Talking to sellers, it's always interesting. The seller was kind of a character.
Yeah.
We didn't get a lot of great information from that call, but
no, he told us how great he was a lot. He knew a lot of things.
He knows a lot of things.
But that partner too, his background is kind of interesting, I think, in a way, because he actually was a business broker at one point. And then he went and worked started working for the medical company. And then he helped the owner that he first started working for sell the business to a group of investors. Mm-hmm. And then he ran it for the group of investors. And then he bought out the group of investors.
They wanted out.
They just
want to do, a lot of times investors just want to kind of turn them. They make the profit and get out and try to.
Yep. So he bought it and now he runs it. So he's worked there for 12 years and I think he's owned it for less than a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're looking for, to grow into new markets there.
Right. Yeah.
So that's it's always an interesting background. We always like to see the ones where people, where that kind of works out, where, the employee that's longtime loyal employee gets to own the company.
Yeah.
And then, that's the seller. Yeah. He just kept telling us how much he knew and
which we just, during the seller calls though, what we find, you have to be treating it like an interview and, he was being that way, but I think he had a sense of humor about it somewhat too. And
we haven't seen the financials yet. I mean, he kind of triggered some things back when I used to work at a hedge fund, and we went through like CIA training on how to like spot certain things and what to look for. And I mean, just some of the things he was saying was like reminding me of those. Like, all right, this is going to be a mess once we get under here.
Well, he had multiple businesses. He had employees working across organizations for multiple entities. Yeah, he made it very clear we would need to have lengthy discussions with his CPA.
Yeah,
which we would anyway, but it is interesting.
Yeah,
to look at deals like that, we see all types.
Yeah, I think he had $5 million of inventory in a business that needed 100,000.
Yeah, and he would sell it to us at quite a discount, which
better.
I don't think we're going to need that much inventory. But yeah, where are we located? We're in Columbus, Ohio, but we work all throughout the United States. We have partners we've gone from California, Florida, up to New York, Michigan. We've been all over the country.
I guess we say we do everywhere except for typically New York, just because it's a tough market.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be heard there. There's so many cash buyers, especially up to $2 million. And a lot of times, you need a pretty hefty down payment to clear that hurdle. So
brokers are just mean.
Brokers are mean there. Yeah. We try not to do a lot in New York, New Jersey.
Yeah. Life's too short.
Yeah. There are other markets where it's hard too, but I think that's the hardest.
It's the hardest. Yeah. And it's just
like Dallas is hard.
They'll ruin your day.
Brokers in Dallas are so nice and they're so helpful, but there are so many buyers there. It's just hard to be heard, and you've got to come in with a good story. So, I mean, we would work in Dallas. We do work in Dallas. We have partners in Dallas. We do. But yeah, you've got to come in with your ducks in a row in Dallas.
Yeah, Texas is tough just because of that. I think the ETA, the entrepreneurship through acquisition group, is just so strong in Texas, and there's like big groups and pockets of people there that, when I see photos on LinkedIn of a group of like 30 people that got together, I'm like, oh man, like,
how are y'all going to find a business?
Yeah. I don't know if there's 30 good deals out there.
Yeah. And hopefully they're all looking for different, hopefully one's looking specifically for plumbing and one's looking specifically for a daycare, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Yeah. I mean, because I hope it's just not that kind of textbook, we're looking for the home service business, because that's kind of what everyone's
home service. EBITDA over 500,000 in Dallas is kind of like our looking for a man in finance.
Yeah.
Inside joke. But yeah, there's so many people that want it. And like, yeah, we want that too.
And I think, because I liked, I think I saw something on LinkedIn yesterday where they were talking about the home service businesses and a lot of people wanting to get into those. And it's just like, people just don't understand how hard it is to staff those. I mean, our first business we owned was a cleaning business with my brother, and staffing is just a mess. That was in Kentucky. I think at that point, the governor was in a little fight with the teachers unions.
Uh-huh.
So like they were constantly having just random days. The teachers would take the day off for protests. And you primarily have single mothers working in that business. So then, you can't run your business because all your employees are going to randomly have to stay home. So, I mean, basically like all the profits for that year basically got eaten up by like the losses from that. And, the work of trying to keep that business staffed it's really hard. And I think the comment is just like, it's not people running those, like, it's not because they don't know how to run a business. It's really hard to get people to show up every day.
Yeah. Yeah. What about Phoenix? What do we think about Phoenix? We see some good ones in Phoenix. The brokers, there's a couple of brokers there that are really tough to work with. I remember one of our first partners we worked with looking at some deals in Phoenix, and you're just like, every time this person came up, and they have a lot of deals there.
Yeah.
But
Phoenix is a good market. We'd love to meet we'd love to work with someone in Phoenix. We don't have anyone there now.
We have someone there.
We do. Okay.
Yeah.
We'd still love to work with more.
Yeah, we'd love to work with more. We have one there. So yeah, we're pretty light there.
Yeah, because Arizona's tough because it's one of the states that you're required to have a real estate license to be a business broker. And, in theory, you'd think requiring more qualifications to be a business broker would make for a better, environment. But it really makes things much worse because real estate agents are just really bad at selling businesses.
Yeah.
And then it prevents people that are actually business savvy and kind of understand the business from acting as brokers in that market. So it actually, I'd say Florida is one of those markets, and Arizona, and
I think Ohio is even, isn't it? I think
Ohio is not.
Ohio is not.
Ohio is not. If the deal has real estate in it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it makes Arizona tough for that reason. I mean, I think part of it though is back then we've kind of raised our deal minimum up to typically we try to stay above $2 million in the purchase price. And part of that is just because you work with such a higher quality of broker. It's, I think that one guy, it was like a $400,000 deal. A $400,000 deal is so much harder than a $4 million deal.
Well, the financials are usually in much better shape. I mean, every part of it just kind of works better.
Get a better broker, better record keeping, better financials.
And we do go below 2 million for the right deal for the right person. We're not going to say, oh, it's, 1.2. We're not going to do that. But, we want to look for the right deal for the right person. But we just happen to know that that's the higher
where you want to target
price points are a little easier to work through. And it's easier for everyone. It's easier for the buyer and the lender and just every part of the process.
It's so hard to find a bank that'll do a deal below 500,000 even. We were looking at doing a bolt-on for one of our companies, $175,000, bolt-on acquisition. And it's just no bank wanted to touch it.
Yeah. Ended up doing seller financing for that. Well, kind of seller financing. It ended up being the seller of the previous organization we'd bought. So that was an interesting
arrangement. It's the seller that we bought the business from, who were actually in the process of buying some of the real estate that he kept and was the landlord. So we're buying that. And he's like, well, I'll give you the money for this acquisition too.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, good. Because the banks, we could have gotten it done, but right. It's a favor. Hey, we do a lot of deals with you. Will you do this as a favor to us?
Right.
To get the deal done. We could have, but
it's nice to not have to. Yeah. You need to call in favors for other things down the road.
We call in favors a lot.
Yeah. Do we see trends following population shifts in the U.S., exiting California, entering Texas?
We definitely do. And it is really interesting to see each city seems to have a different liquidity profile. So by that, I mean how many businesses come for sale. So we definitely see a trend of people leaving California to Texas. Although we still do a lot of California deals, and we even do some people moving to California. We might be net neutral. We've got a few moving to California, and it's just because they have family there, they're from there, they want to go back to where their family is.
Yeah.
California, it's hard to make deals work because they actually sell for, say, the same valuation. So a business is going to be 4 times cash flow in Texas is 4 times cash flow in California. But in California, you might have the 11% income tax. And in Texas, you have a 0% income tax. And we underwrite deals on an after-tax basis because it's really important because you have to pay taxes on the money that goes to pay down the debt. So your tax rate hurts more than what it really is, right? So so just looking at that state tax, I have to pay, it's almost like it's 22 because half my cash is going to the loan. I get half, but I got to pay taxes on the whole thing. So that makes California really tough. But we have some businesses there. Columbus, our home market is one of our hardest markets.
Yeah, it is. It is.
We just don't see much here. But versus in Indianapolis, which is almost a very similar city.
Yeah.
You see a lot. I think it's usually based on kind of the life cycle of the business. The problem is Columbus has really exploded
it's a young
lot
city.
in the last 10 years. So the people that own the businesses aren't looking to sell.
They're either very, very established businesses that are probably too large for our buyers, or it seems like they're pretty new and people are happy to just keep running them.
Versus Indiana, it's a little bit older. It hasn't had it's been growing steady, but it hasn't had
Especially
the
the north
explosive
side.
growth.
Yeah, well, the north side's been explosive, but
Yeah.
we're not seeing things on the north side that much either of Indianapolis.
No, but it's still, you see more there. And actually, but it is interesting. So we see a lot of our deals. Orlando is really our number one market.
Tampa,
it just
Orlando
happens to be, and yeah, different cities
Yeah.
obviously like deal flow is in proportion to the population. So, the more population you have, the more deal flow you should see, but also you have more buyers too.
Yeah. You have people that move to Florida and want to retire. I mean, I think they go there, they get bored, they want to start something, do something, and then they want to sell. Yeah, so I think that's a lot of it.
We see a lot in Florida, the business that somebody bought a restaurant as like their retirement, and they realize like how freaking hard the restaurant industry is, or things like that. That's pretty common down there. Where you'll see things, someone buys it and like a year later, which can be tough to do the loan because you need the financials going back. So, it's hard for a seller to sell that's owned it for less than 3 years. It's possible if they keep all the financial records and things like that. If you have like the foresight to go back to the seller and say, hey, I need your tax returns, even though you filed them after we closed on our deal, which is probably a pro tip to, if after you buy a business, like go back to the seller and make sure you still get a copy of their tax return from the year that you bought it, so that you have that. You should have the old records in your files, and then you get that one to add to it, so you have like a continuous record.
You need it,
for the business.
It's funny. Tampa and Orlando are some of our best. Miami's one of our absolute worst.
It's all New Yorkers.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's true.
Miami's just New York.
Hard. The brokers are hard there.
The brokers are just like the New York ones.
They are.
They're so rude.
I don't throw them under the bus, but they feel unprepared also.
Yeah. And
which is frustrating.
Superiority.
I would buy, if I could get everyone in Tampa and Orlando, I would have the easiest job. It would be such an easy time. I love the brokers there. We have good relationships. We have brokers there that send us things before they go out.
Yeah.
It's a really good market. Colorado Springs. Yeah. I love Denver.
We're saying we need someone in Denver.
I really want to buy her in Denver.
as we're coming into this season, as more listings come, we were talking, where do we need partners? And,
Colorado Springs is great too.
And that Denver, Colorado Springs area is like,
construction in Denver is like my dream partner right now. If I can find a construction person there, I would be really content. But yeah, we love that market. I think the brokers are great there too. Yeah. We've had a really good success with them.
Yeah. So let us know.
Yeah. Tampa in the house. Yes. How does your model work? Do you partner with a buyer or act more as a consultant? We actually do both. It seems though that the people that start with us as a consultant end up moving to working as a partner with us. There's a lot of hours that go into buying a business. And I think a lot of times people come in thinking, I just need this one thing. And the whole thing's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone converts at some point. But yeah, our typical, we help throughout the entire buy process, from sourcing to negotiating to getting the loan done, everything to get the deal closed. For that, we typically we take a 10% ownership in the business. And the way that works is, whenever cash comes out of the business, that's when it's split. If money stays in the business, it just stays in the business. But then we stay on as a consultant. So we offer bookkeeping and financial analysis. For the bookkeeping, we pass through the expense, which is usually like $300 to $900 a month. And at $900, we should be replacing a full-time employee. So we can, by sharing the resources and keeping the costs low. I think we're looking to hire a project manager to go to each business. So like after the close, we continue to help in any way that we can. We're actually kind of having a problem because sometimes people don't like our contract because it doesn't
spell out what we do after the sale.
It doesn't give that much detail, but we do somebody just sent today. I mean, just little things. They're like, hey, can you put this in e-sign? It's like random stuff, but then we're doing more difficult things like consulting. Obviously the consulting. I look at the financials all the time. The marketing.
Let's talk about the first business we bought, or one of the first ones we bought, where how much time did you spend post-close on legal issues with the seller fleeing the country after committing massive fraud? I mean, we're there. we're basically a board
spent
member.
so many hours with, and like, it was kind of this seller that had committed fraud. I don't know. He wanted to talk to me most of the time. So yeah, I was just hours. Oh, he would just beat me down. He was a scumbag. It's like one of those, like, because like people want us to specify more in the contract. It's like, but if we do, we'll probably end up specifying less.
Right.
Like, we really just try to help people however we can.
We had somebody ask us for recommendations on a website provider. Sure. Like, we've talked to these places, and I mean, we're just here. We want the business to succeed. We're not going to, ghost after the sale. It doesn't do us any benefit to say,
no,
if there's a problem, call us.
Yeah.
If you want to talk, call us.
And that's what I think the project manager person, they'll kind of help everyone is, I think will be really useful because, owning businesses ourselves, like there's always these really good, not too hard to do things that could add a lot of value, whether it's putting in a new system or doing the website update or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you just don't have time to do it because you're so busy in the business. So we want to have this person that just roams through all of our companies and, helps do those projects, and that we know these can be big value add projects.
Well, that's the thing. I think so many people want to go in. They're just going to automate everything. That's the first thing they're going to do is automate everything and work themselves out of the business. And I think you get in and you're just like, wait a minute, I've got employee issues. I've got to learn this business. I need to get relationships with my suppliers. Yeah, it would be great to automate everything, but it ends up being much further down on your list than you would think.
Yeah. If you go into a business where someone's running everything on pencil and paper, and it is opportunity.
Yeah.
And you identify that as opportunity. It's like, oh, I can convert this. But like, you have to do it on pencil and paper until you get it converted.
Yeah.
And you can't convert it because you're too busy doing it on pencil and paper.
Yep.
So I think that's like our next idea. And again, those types of things, we try to just run as a pass through. So I think, we're debating how we're going to do it, Katie and I think, but we'll probably do is that person, we're just going to have a third party that we work with just over and over again. So they're not actually one of our employees, and their expense is just passed on. And then, but our work, we would sit there with our partners and decide what projects to get to work on and guide it. Like that's just part of the partnership.
Yeah.
But then that person actually going and doing the execution is just a pass through. So like, kind of on those types of services, I try to say we try to neither make or lose money ourselves on that. And, our guidance comes with the partnership.
Right. Yeah. It's worked out so far. What's your take on the medical transportation business? We almost bought one of those, Mark and I, before we started helping others.
Yeah. So it depends on the state. I think up in the north, I'm going to guess the Northeast, because they're typically more common there. We see more of those.
I see a lot in Tennessee as well.
And, as long as you have one that's really, a lot of more ambulance based rather than just kind of the, standard, somebody that could just be replaced by Uber transport or something like that. They can be pretty good, pretty steady. If you put there's one thing you have to make sure that I think a lot of people miss is it's really capital intensive as far as you are burning through those vehicles. You're putting a lot of miles, a lot of wear and tear on them. So you really need to make sure that you're planning to replace the vehicles. So when you look online, since everything adds back to depreciation, the cash flow is really overstated. So as long as you go through and make the adjustment for the, regular reoccurring CapEx, they can be good businesses.
Colt asks, what is our average deal size and average down payment per deal? Our average deal size,
it's about 3 million.
It probably is. We've done much smaller. We've done much bigger. We've gone over the $5 million cap on a couple now.
Yeah. I think our average down payment's probably between 3 to 4%. We've gotten a lot of 2.5% downs, even on the bigger ones too. So that's kind of skews the average probably.
Right.
That the bigger ones have actually been more likely to get the 2.5% down. And I think some of that's the negotiation power that you get for a bigger loan. So like if I went to the bank that says we don't want to do 2.5% downs, we're 5. If I go to them with a $5 million loan, they're like, yeah, we'll do it at 2.5.
Yeah.
If I go to them with a $750,000 loan, they'll be like, no, I'm going to do it at 5. So yeah, some of it is that attractiveness, and the lenders want to do the bigger loans, so it's almost easier to get. It's not almost easy. It is easier to get the lower down payment on those. But I'd say that's kind of our our sweet spot. We haven't done more than 5 on anything. Now, say we have banks all the time that ask for more than 5. So like lenders come to us all the time. We're always talking to new banks, and we always want to like expand our list of banks.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you have really 300 SBA lenders. 290 of them basically have the same terms. Then you've got 10 that will do things different than the other 290.
We want the special ones. We want the ones that are working with buyers.
But we've had banks ask for more than 5, but then we just go and do it with a different bank. I think we had a few deals. We look at like a pair of pursue loans. Sometimes it's come up where the banks kind of ask more, and we might probably have to do it. I think those deals didn't come to fruition, but they would have been ones where we had to do maybe like 6 or 7. Which then that's tough, because if you're doing that, the pair of pursue is when you're doing a loan above $5 million. So you typically can get a bank that'll do another 2.5 on top of that, so you can get to 7.5. Sometimes they'll end up asking for more than 5.
Yeah.
So also you have a bigger deal, so your dollar amount's bigger, and then you're going to have to do a higher percentage.
Right. Yeah, we have, there are some brokers that say they'll do more than even 7.5%, but I think their deal box is really tight on what that looks like.
Yeah. And
they say no to a lot.
Yeah. There's banks that ask for different things. I mean, we know Chase is the big guy. You can pick on them. You can call them out. But like, we've had so many people come to us and say that, Chase told me I needed 20 or 30%.
Yeah.
And I remember there's one person that was told by their Chase banker they needed 30. And then we got a bank that was going to do it at 2.5.
Right. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll help. We're so happy to help in those situations. I mean, there's no need. And I don't think they're getting more favorable interest rates on those for the most part either.
No, it's just not their market.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a great business. You make more money serving the bigger clients. So if I was Jamie Dimon, I'd want to do a $2.5 billion deal more than I'd want to do a $2.5 million deal.
Because again, it's the same amount of work.
They do $2.5 billion deals. The other banks that we deal with, they are a $2.5 billion bank. Like their whole balance sheet's $2.5 billion.
Yeah, I mean, right. I guess a $2.5 billion deal versus a $250,000 deal, there is more work involved in that, but
not that much. Not that much more.
Yeah. They're a lot of work no matter what.
Yeah.
I think every deal's
hard.
Every deal's hard in its own way. Do you find business deals, or does the buyer bring them to you? Kind of works both ways. Most of through our partner program anyway. I typically am the one who is out there searching for businesses. I have a lot of relationships with brokers, and I kind of just know where to go, and brokers send me things. So I'm usually the one that's out there looking, but every once in a while we do get a buyer that says, hey, I found this business. They might even come to us and just ask us to review the business rather than going through our partner program.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
I mean, we like to see our partners engaged, because we kind of think that's, since we do take our compensation in equity rather than cash, like we're betting on this person. So we do like to see that they're engaged in it, and it helps us feel that they're going to be, successful post acquisition, right? I think a completely, disengaged partner is probably going to be a not so good owner, is kind of our view.
Yeah.
So we always do like to see a little back and forth, but I'd say, 95% of the time, I'd say we probably find the actual deal that we end up buying. Mm-hmm. I'd say the one exception I can think of is that water well that we just did. Mm-hmm. That actually came through a review. So he'd asked for just like a one-time review and paid a fee. And then once we got started working on it, he realized how much went into it and asked to, join the partner program.
I can't think of another time that, while that deal that actually is falling apart that you said isn't going to happen anymore, that partner actually brought that deal to us as well. But I liked it. I still would have presented it to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can kind of go both ways. I like to see what buyers are interested in. And it's interesting because, they'll tell me, hey, I've been doing sales for 15 years. Let's find a business like that. Sure. I'll start sending things, and all of a sudden they'll send me one for like a roofing business. And I'm like, oh, why are you interested in this one? They'll be like, well, I was a roofer for, 7 years before that. And that helps me tell the story better. And it is interesting just to see what they're bringing to us, because it expands the criteria for which I can be searching.
Yeah. And I think those types of things, that's where we get we have a new partner. We have what we call a get to know you phase. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we used to have them look at active listings. We used to have them collect things for like 30 days. Now we just tell people to just go on BizBuy, BizQuest, find everything that you think is interesting, no matter what the geography, no matter what the size, and then send us the list. And then we do a call together to go over the list. And we ask, like, one, we look through for the trends of like what they were interested in. And then two, we just go through each one, of why do you like this one? What about it is a good fit for you?
Yeah.
What about it's in your interest? And that's where we find out, those types of things. The person that was a nurse in New York that's also a licensed electrician and was in the union for 8 years. We never would have known about the electrical background.
Yeah. I think we even had the conversation. I don't think you can do this one. You're going to need a license for this one. He's like, oh, but wait, I have
one.
That's great to know.
That would have been great to know a while ago.
Yeah, we could have found so many more.
But yeah, so I really like that get to know you phase since we brought that in. And now I guess we kind of shortened it. Instead of doing it for 30 days, it's just go out on the websites, find absolutely everything you can. Geography doesn't matter because we're not going to buy these businesses.
Find 10. I don't want to see 300. But
I told them 30.
Oh my gosh, we're going to revise that.
Yeah.
I want to see what they're interested in, but we don't, we want to just be set on the right path, I think, and make sure we're in alignment. And then, if we're seeing they're looking at everything everywhere, kind of find the niche that we want to go down.
Yeah. I mean, we can always tell when someone's ready. Typically partners come to us and it's completely normal that just really not knowing what you want to do.
Oh yeah.
And having, just kind of a wide view. And then we can tell, like, as people are going through that funnel.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in this state. I don't want to I do want to be in Florida. I do want to do home services. Great. Let's do that.
Yeah. And then, we can tell as people go through that funnel. And then as someone really starts to narrow their focus, that's usually when we know we're getting close. We're close to the time that we're going to end up actually buying something.
I nudge them too. Sometimes I'll find businesses that we actually would love. Like there was a septic tank business that I couldn't find a buyer for, and it looked so interesting. And I sent it to a few partners, and that helps get them down the path of, no, I don't want to do that. And no, I don't want to be in this area. So it's a good test sometimes to say, like, do you really want to do anything anymore?
Yeah, I'll do anything. Here's a septic tank system, which are fantastic businesses. I would buy septic tank businesses all day.
It looked so good. I couldn't get anyone on it.
Yeah. We had the same with porta potties. Or we saw a really good one and no one, it's like, people were just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Poop is the best business.
But it's also a great way to decide what you do or don't want to do with your future.
Well, yeah. Because I mean,
and it's totally fine. If you don't want to do that.
If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But yeah, they're great business. Yeah. So I think because you have a lot of colleges that are teaching the entrepreneurship and acquisition phase, and they're telling everyone to go after the home service business, the electrical, the plumbing, the HVACs.
Oh, HVACs everywhere. Yeah.
Nobody's going for the septic, and it's, it has all the same positive characteristics. You get to buy it at, probably half the valuation. You just have to, learn to deal with some stink.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't want to be doing that day to day. I can say that wouldn't be the business for me. That would be one you could rule out for me in my life.
The price is right. I'd do it.
I know you. Any advice on how to connect with brokers in Tampa, Orlando, other than the ones on BizBuySell? Honestly, starting on BizBuySell is the best way to go, and just be the best buyer to them. Be responsive in time. You're just going to build relationships. And I mean, that's all the brokers are on BizBuySell.
Yeah.
So I don't know to say that unless you're looking at a higher level deal that's maybe 4 million or higher, you could look at the M&A firms that are local to that area.
Reach out to the M&A firms. Yeah. They're typically, most brokers, especially in that market, are on there.
Yeah. Just be very responsive, be very respectful of their time. If you see a deal and it's a no for you, say that. Say, no, I'm going to pass, and maybe give them the reason. And often, when I do that, they say, oh, well, what are you looking for? And then they'll start sending me things that do meet my criteria. Which is great.
Sometimes too, you can break through because, everyone fills out the form on the webpage, but, not many people pick up the phone and call. So, if you're having a hard time breaking through, you really just did everything you do, right? Sometimes you just got to pick up the phone and call. And so they might have, 100 people that inquire on BizBuy on a business in the first couple days it's listed, but like 5 people might actually pick up the phone and call them. So that's always a good way to get through.
It shows you're interested. Even if they probably won't answer the phone, honestly. But
if you leave a voicemail,
if you submitted your BizBuy sell and you call,
just follow all the paths.
I would even
BizBuy sell, email,
register as a buyer on their site. I might not even, if I don't hear from them on BizBuy sell, I would also go to their site and request information that way too. Mm-hmm. Especially for one you're really interested in. I mean, there's some that if I don't hear back on this one, it didn't look that great. But if there are some that I'm like, yes, I really want this one, I would go through all the channels. Our source for business listings, a lot of it's personal relationships. We do go through all the M&A sites. We go through global brokerages. We do look at BizBuy sell. We have a tool ourselves that kind of scrapes the web a couple times a day. And we go through those listings and just see what pops up. What's the average multiplier you've seen to value business deals? That really varies. Yeah, somebody else said it depends on industry. It depends on a lot of factors. There's one course seller that says that you can apply a standard multiple to every deal. And
we have a model, like, 'cause I've built a lot of pricing models over the last 20 years, kind of working in hedge funds, and like I'd build models that valued like all 5,000 companies globally, like for sale at one point, publicly. So like use a little bit of that. And like actually what we use for like our base model for coming up for prices, especially for businesses that don't list a price. It is just pretty simple. Like there's only a few factors that go into it. The biggest is just the amount of cash flow. Like kind of if something's at $250,000, it's like 1.5 times multiple. If it's at, $1 million, it's probably going to be at 4. If it's over $1.5 million, you're probably closer to 5, and, kind of go through that scale. And we put factors in like, does it have a management team in place? Is it really capital intensive? A few other factors that we put in there. But yeah, think of it as the size of the business is the biggest factor. And it is interesting that is even the biggest factor once you get up to like public companies and making like trading quant models.
We went about 33 minutes over.
Yeah, and actually I just realized it's a school night. So we got to get the kids to bed. They started school. 2 of them started school today, and
one more tomorrow.
The third one has his first day tomorrow. So we got to get the kids ready for bed.
Got carried away. Well, it's always fun for us to talk about this. And as that's why we go over so far. Just keep going. We're on a roll.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah.